Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am streaming to you live from Central Europe in Budapest. Hi Firdavs, hi Rahul, hello members. This is a members chat class for the reading section of the IELTS exam. It's one of the perks or the advantages of being a member of our channel. So members get 3 of these focused classes each week. And we're looking at some strategies and reading practice for a Band 9 today. Materials are coming from our websites. The reading passage comes from our exam book 1 at aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com. For the general version of the test, check us out at gieltshelp.com. There you will find materials for the general reading section, which of course has some more passages that are shorter. Hi Rahul, hi Firdavs again. All right, students, again, you can use the code LIVE20 for a 20% discount on our websites. Our websites, they look like this. This is the academic with the blue background. You can click that red button to join it. Or for the general, it's with the green background at GIELTS Help. Click that red button to join there. If you have questions about the exam or our products, send me an email, Adrian, ADRIAN, at aehelp.com. If you want to get our exam books only in electronic or paperback version to follow these live classes, you can buy them from Amazon. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS or GE Helps General IELTS on your Amazon bookstore. All right, students. So today we are looking at reading for members, and then after this reading class, we will finish the Task 2 writing essay that we started yesterday with everyone. Hi, I'm Arjit. Good to see you join the class. And now we will get into our reading. Today we're looking at our third exam in book number 1, and we are looking at the passage Tristan da Cunha, an island of remote curiosity. Now, when you get to your reading passages, what's the first step you should take, members? So what is always step number 1 when you open up the reading section of your IELTS exam? So I'm going to give you some very clear step-by-step strategies today, members. That's my goal. So first strategy, so tip 1, we'll call it. When you get to the reading section of your IELTS exam, your first step should be to what? What should be your first step when you get to the reading section of your IELTS exam? And this is a very good strategy. It could easily help you to save an extra band score. Hi, Alvina. So what should you do? You get to the reading section, you've finished your listening, you transferred your answers to your answer sheet. Now you're looking at the reading passages. And what do? What's step number 1? And you should always do this. You should, by the way, practice this at home when you are looking at full practice exams, especially for the reading section. Any ideas for Dovs, Rahul, Amarjit, Alvina? Reading section. What do? What's step number 1? While you're thinking about it, I'll give you the answer, or you're typing it. Hopefully you come up with the same idea. Your first step should be to read all of the passage titles and choose the easiest, which also means the most familiar passage to do first. Okay, so this is even, so Rahul, this is even before you focus on one specific passage. So when you get to the reading section, quickly look at all three of the passages in the academic. In the general, it's a little bit different because you have 5 passages. But in the academic, look at all 3 titles and decide which one is maybe the easiest for you. Now, the way the IELTS exam is made is that passage 1 is usually the easiest. Passage 2 is more difficult, passage 3 is even more difficult, but this isn't always true for every person. Okay? Yes, Alvina, if you're doing the academic IELTS, it's 3 passages between 650 to 800 words each. Okay? 1 3/4 to 2 pages, roughly. Okay, Alvina? So, usually, remember this, usually passage 1 is the easiest. And passage 3 is the most difficult. But okay, it's an important but this is not true for all students. Okay, so what you will find is usually passage 1 is something physical. It's a physical topic like volcanoes or skyscrapers, or it will be some kind of a place like an island, like what we're looking at right now, or it will be about an object like computers. So passage 1 is usually something that you can touch, that you can see. It's easier to understand reading about it. Passage 3 will often be an abstract idea, so something that you cannot touch. Okay, you cannot see it easily, like psychology, sociology, philosophy. Okay, so something that you have to understand purely by thought, not necessarily by object. But if, let's say, passage 3 is about psychology, so human thinking, and your major in school or in university is psychology, then passage 3 might be an easy start for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Always choose the easiest passage first, the one that's familiar. Okay, if you see a passage that's about a topic which you learned a lot about, it's one of your hobbies maybe, start with that one. Okay, does that make sense, members? So even though usually the first passage is the easiest, it's something physical, like an animal, for example, that you can see and you can touch. Passage 3 is the most difficult. It's an abstract idea. Okay, it's something that's difficult to touch. You cannot touch it. Then outside of that, pick the passage that you're most familiar with. Okay, in the reading section, there's no rule that you have to do passage 1 first, passage 2 next, and passage 3 the last. Okay, there's no rule like that. So choose carefully. So always read the title. The way you know that is you read the title and then you decide which one to do first. Okay, so after you do that, your step number 2 is read the title, visualize, and use critical thinking. Okay, so let's hop over to our passage. So Tristan da Cunha, an island of remote curiosity. What do you think that means? So when you read that, first of all, what do you see? Okay, so when you read this title, what do you see in your mind? Predicting the passage and visualizing the passage can really help you before you read any information, questions, or the paragraphs. Okay, so you have to do that. Don't just skip the title. The title is a very key piece of information. It's the summary of all of what you're reading and answering. So what do you see when you read this? Tristan da Cunha, that's obviously some kind of a name. An interesting name, maybe Spanish, maybe not. It's actually Portuguese. Okay. But here we have some more information. An island of remote curiosity. So it's an island. So you see a little island. Okay. What does the word remote mean in this context? What is the meaning of the word remote? What does that mean? What's the definition, do you think, in this case? There's a few other ways to say it. There's some good synonyms for this. Zainab, Alvina, Rahul, how do you say that in a different way? Ferdovs says it's far. Yep, it's far from other locations or other societies, other groups of people. Sure. There's a couple better words than far away. Amarjit, far away? Yeah, it's far away from other people. Sure. There's another word. It starts with an I. S is the next one. O is the next letter. It's got 5 more letters. Yeah, Alvina, that's right. It's isolated. Okay, remote means isolated. Okay, isolated means it's difficult to get to. There's not many people around it. Okay, what does curiosity mean? Okay, so good. So you have an idea. I can tell for Dobbs, Amarjit, Alvina, Rahul, that you have an idea of what remote means here. So it's an island that's isolated, that's far away, and there's curiosity, right? Interest. Very good, Rahul. So Rahul says curiosity means interest. All right, fine. So we have that information. That's good. Hopefully you think about that very quickly in just a few moments as soon as you read the title in the exam. So you read the title. Okay. Let me go back here. So step 2, you read the title, you visualize it. So you see this little island that's far away from all other locations. You see yourself maybe standing on the island. Then you're using critical thinking, right? So what is the question that you should ask? What is a good critical thinking question to ask yourself before you read this passage? What do you think? What would be the right question? One of the most important skills, students, viewers, for a high score on the IELTS exam is very often to think about the right questions, not the right answers. A lot of students think, I have to think about some good answers to get a high band score. In truth, it's actually more important in many situations to think about the right questions. Rahul says, what is this island all about? Okay, that's okay, Rahul. Yeah, that's not a bad question. I like it. There's another question that might be even better. What is that question? The question that comes into mind for me is, why is an isolated island of interest to people? Right? So why is an island that's far away from all kinds of societies, why is that of interest to people? Okay. So why? What would be your answer? Why is a small island that's located far away somewhere in the ocean interesting for humans? What is the reason for that? What do you think? What would be some logical answers to that question? Okay, so that's your goal. You quickly identify this title, you visualize it, you ask this question, and then you answer it, right? Okay, Amarjit, it's an island, so it's not located in the mountains. Yeah. Okay. So Rahul says not comfortable weather for humans to live. Maybe I would simplify that, Rahul, and say challenging for people to live. Yeah, or inhabit is a better word for live here. Inhabit. Right? So challenging for people to inhabit. Alvina says it's maybe beautiful and attracts tourists. Perhaps very beautiful, thinking of Hawaii, right? I think for most of you, when you visualize this, the idea that comes to mind is that it's got a unique fauna and flora, right? Probably, most likely, has a unique fauna and flora. Fauna and flora mean animal and plant life. Okay, so fauna is animal life, flora, think of flower, it's plant life. Okay, so fauna, flora. Zainab says people like mysteries. Very good, Zainab. Yeah, people like mysteries. Absolutely, that's a good idea. Yeah, good. So as long as you think about all of these ideas, you're on the right track and you're going to read this passage and it will be easier for you to understand, okay? So that's your step number 2. What's your step number 3? So step 3 is look at the questions and read ones that have information which is in the passage. Do not read ones that have false or extra information not in the passage. Okay, that's your step 3. So, let's take a look at those. So we read the title, Tristan da Cunha. It's the name of some island that's far away. It's interesting for us. Might have some unique people, plants, animals, maybe difficult to live in, maybe quite beautiful. Okay, then we look at the questions. The first one that we see is this reading passage 1 has 7 paragraphs, A to G. Which paragraph contains the following information? So this is matching information to the paragraph, okay? This one, definitely read it. It's all somewhere in the passage. It gives you an idea about the passage. All right, so let's read this together, students. Number 1, the different types of money used on the island. Okay, so when you read this, you should immediately, visualize money. Okay, use the information in questions, even if you're reading them quickly, to help you with the passage. Okay, so here, visualize money. One of the paragraphs is going to be about money. Okay, exam results of Tristan students. Okay, so as soon as you read this, you should visualize an exam paper with some kind of a grade. Okay, in North America we use letters, A plus, B. In some countries they use numbers, but you're visualizing an exam, okay, and so on. So discussion of the original inhabitants of the island. So here you're visualizing the first people on the island, okay? So all of this information is somewhere in the passage. The island as an armed forces outpost, so used for military, okay? So now you're visualizing the military outpost of the island. There's a tank for you, okay? So you're visualizing the military. Geography of the island. So now you're looking at the shape of the island. Maybe you see a mountain, volcano on that island, something like that, okay? Again, use the questions, see pictures in your mind as you're reading these nice and fast. At home, by the way, you might want to draw, just like what I'm doing with the board right now. Take your pencil. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Just quickly draw. Drawing, even if it's just stick figures and outlines, helps the visual process of your mind. So don't be shy, don't be lazy. Draw pictures, okay? Pictures are worth 1,000 words, all right? Okay, so here we have question 6 to 11. Match the following places with facts about them from the passage. This type of question is called matching information. Okay, so we have Saint Helena, Tristan da Cunha, United Kingdom, and Portugal. Obviously, these are 4 different locations. Okay? Excuse me. So these are 4 different locations. Of course, most of us are familiar with United Kingdom, the UK, Britain. Most of us are familiar with Portugal. These 2 are kind of new, so they're obviously smaller places. So these are maybe small islands. And these are large countries, okay? I don't know how Portugal looks, but anyway, something like that. Okay, so keep that in mind, all right? Now, we just read through this nice and fast. This is all in the passage again. All of this information is somewhere in the passage because you have to match these to these, and the passage will tell us where. Took political control of the island in the 19th century, uses its own currency, home to Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, origin of the name Tristan da Cunha. Islanders had to be evacuated here after a natural disaster, discovered the island. Okay, so good so far. Now, questions 12 to 13. Complete each sentence with the correct ending A to E below. We have 2 questions, okay, 12 and 13. And we have 5 choices. So 3 of these choices are wrong or not in the passage. So I don't read the choices, okay? The choices will not be helpful for me in this case because more of them are actually wrong or not in the passage. So I'm not going to pay attention to the choices, just the questions, okay? Here are the questions. Number 12. Because the number of people that move permanently to the island is so small, comma. 13, due to its remoteness, the dialect of Tristanians is. Okay, fine, good. Now, I read the questions. I have some more information. So I know that the island has some people. It's being used by countries or country for war or for military. It had some natural disaster happen. So all of this information is in my mind. Thank you, Alvina, for that. Bless you. Okay, so now I read the passage carefully and I visualize. Okay, here we go for step 4. Step 4, read the passage in no more than 10 minutes. Okay, so in the real IELTS exam, you have maximum 10 minutes to read a passage and focus to understand at least 70%. Okay? This is what you need to do to get band 6.5 or more. All right? So read the passage. 10 minutes is a lot of time to read a passage. A grade 12 native speaking student will read an IELTS passage and understand it 90% in about 5-6 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes is actually lots of time. If you are planning to do university in Canada, US, UK, you will have to increase your speed to read a passage like this in 5 minutes and understand it 100%. Okay, that's the only way you will pass your courses, especially master's courses in university. All right, keep that in mind. So 10 minutes is a lot of time. What you need to do, importantly, is visualize and keep a mental record of the information in your mind. At home, practice asking yourself, what do I see? And of course, answer. Okay? Especially with visual information like an island. Okay, so here we're reading about an island. Islands are visual, they're real, they're physical. You can see them. Okay, so when you're practicing at home, ask yourself, what do I see? Keep a mental record. Let's do this together. Are you ready, members, students? Alvina, Ferdabs, Rahul, you ready to go on this? Ready to read it with me and visualize and ask ourselves what we see? Ferdabs says, sure. Ready, set, steady, go. Absolutely, good. Just making sure I'm not losing your focus, your attention here. All right, here we go. So always go from the top. Tristan da Cunha, an island of remote curiosity. Tristan da Cunha is an island in the South Atlantic Ocean formed by volcanic activity and part of the British Overseas Territory called St. Helena, Ascension, and Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha is generally considered to be the most remote inhabited place on Earth. Because of its extreme isolation and its small population, Tristan da Cunha is a fascinating experiment in sociology and genetics. All right. So, members, when you read this short little paragraph, by the way, it's in the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific Ocean. That's a mistake in the passage. When you read this paragraph, what do you see? What do you actually visualize? What do you see? What do you picture in your mind? Okay, it's very quickly, one more time. Tristan da Cunha is an island in the South Atlantic formed by volcanic activity, part of the British Overseas Territories called St. Helena, Ascension, Tristan da Cunha. Tristan da Cunha is generally considered to be the most remote inhabited place on Earth because of its extreme isolation and its small population. Tristan da Cunha is a fascinating experiment in sociology and genetics. What do you actually see when you read that passage to help you understand and catalog information, which will help you a lot, especially when you have matching information? Okay, Zainab says, small island. Okay, I'm going to write down my visualization while you do that. Ferdov says, an isolated island with a few people doing some experiments. Avina says, an island that is fascinating experiment. Okay, my visualization is, I am a scientist. Let's call myself a geneticist. I'm a geneticist, which is a genetic scientist. Standing, okay, I'm going to go back here, wearing a white lab coat, standing on an small island with a big volcano in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and there are 10 people around me who seem very interesting. Okay, so that's my visualization, all right? Now, what is different between my visualization and your visualization for Dovs, Alvina, or Rahul? What's the difference? So when I read that first paragraph, I see myself as a geneticist. So I'm a scientist. I got my smart glasses on. I got my test tube. I'm wearing a white lab coat. And I'm standing on this island. I'm really happy. I get to do some experiments. There's a big volcano behind me. There's a few people around me. I'm giving them high fives. They look really interesting. And of course, this island is in the middle of nowhere. What's different between what I'm seeing and what you're seeing? Ferdov says, "You're on the island." I am. And Rahul says, "It seems like you're already on that island." I am on that island, Rahul. Absolutely. The human brain, students, loves to participate. It loves to take action, okay? We have become observers with our smartphones, with our TVs, with our computers. We have become passive observers of information. This is not good. Information just goes in one ear, out the other. It passes through us. Humans love to participate. The brain is built to participate, to take action. When it takes action in the information, then it's much more entertaining and it's used and remembers much better. That's why video games are so popular. We're not just observers, but we take action in video games. And that's why a lot of people like video games much more than just simply watching a movie. Okay, so more like a video game, students, less like watching a movie. Okay, so when you visualize, be an active part of the information. Okay, again, more like a video game, less like a movie, where you're just like an observer. Okay, that's the key. All right, I am on the island, Rahul. All right, so let's do that for the next few paragraphs. Okay, does that make sense, members? So does that make sense that when you're practicing these IELTS listening section and reading section at home, you should practice visualizing yourself as part of the information? Is that clear? Is it clear why I want you to do that? Okay, I really want to make sure that you're catching that tip, because that tip can absolutely help you to get an extra half band to a full band. Okay, and yes, Rahul, it makes it much more interesting, definitely. Okay, all right, so the island was first discovered in 1506 by a Portuguese explorer named Tristão da Cunha, who named the island after himself. The name of the island was later anglicized by the inhabitants into Tristan da Cunha. In 1816, the United Kingdom annexed the island, taking control of it. They used it as a marine military base for a number of decades in the 19th century, before it fell into disuse after the construction of the Suez Canal. The Second World War, however, brought renewed purpose to the island. It was used as a top-secret British naval station codenamed HMS Atlantic Isle. The purpose of the station was to monitor the waters for German U-boats. What do you see now? So after you read this body paragraph, what do you see? What is a good way to visualize this information? What do you think? What's a good way to visualize this? I bet you're going to come up with a couple of very clever ideas now on how to involve yourself and catalog this information much better in your mind's eye. We actually say that. We say the mind's eye. Some people call it the third eye. It's the eye that sees inside of your head. And it's a very powerful tool. It's your creativity. It's your imagination. Okay? It's part of your world of dreams. So what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. Yeah, so Rahul, just say it as I. I am the ruler of the island, and I use it for myself. Rahul, yourself. Talk about yourself. So I am the ruler of the island, and I use it for myself. Yeah, I would even go as far as saying, I'm the Portuguese man named Tristão da Cunha, so I'm that guy. I'm the captain, okay? So I have my let me do this. I have my old Portuguese captain's hat on. Okay, I'm going to put a big C here. I'm the captain. Okay, let me see if I can get in there like that. All right, there's my captain's hat. Okay, give myself a little bit of that old school curly hair that they had going on back in those days. There we go. All right, here we go. Something like that. It fits, right? Okay, so I'm the captain of the island. My name is Tristão da Cunha. I take control of it, and I call it after myself. That's me. That's my island. Okay, I put down my flag. All right, so maybe I have my flag, right? Tristão da Cunha flag. All right, let me get that flag in my hand. There we go. Okay, there, so there. Okay, all right, so there's my flag. It's my island. I name it after me. And then I get really upset because the British come, they take it from me. So I hide. I pretend like I'm a British spy, and it's being used as a base for war. And I see myself as a secret spy like James Bond for the British Army. Okay? So that's what I visualize. The more you can see, the better you can see it, the better your memory, the better your ability to understand and answer questions. Okay? All right, I'm Harjeet. I'm glad I could entertain you a bit there with that. It's fantastic. That was my goal. All right, so C, according to a recent consensus, the island has a population of just 263 people who mainly reside in the settlement known as Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. It is thought that the residents of the island descend from just 15 ancestors, of which 8 were male and 7 were female. Because the reproduction pool is so small, the residents of the island suffer from a number of medical disorders. There's a rampant asthma on the island, which is thought to be the result of the known fact that 3 of the original founders of the island suffered from asthma. Based on the endemic asthma afflicting inhabitants of the island today, it is thought that there is a genetic underpinning for the condition. Further evidence comes from islanders commonly suffering from glaucoma, a degenerative eye condition which, left untreated, can result in blindness. Okay, so here I'm visualizing that I'm that geneticist in my white lab coat again. There are a couple hundred people on the island. They have 7 moms, 8 dads, something like that. Yeah, 8 dads, 7 moms. And they have some problems, some health issues. I see that. Asthma. Asthma means they have difficulty breathing. So they need the inhaler. Okay. And glaucoma, blindness. Yeah. Danish, absolutely. Seeing that asthma, seeing that blindness. Okay. So I'm trying to help them. Maybe I'm trying to treat them like a doctor. D. there are just 8 surnames among the 263 residents of Tristan da Cunha, corresponding roughly to the 8 original male ancestors. Since there is almost no emigration to the island, the surnames are kept intact for many generations. Education on the island. Okay, so that was just a very short paragraph. Here, I just visualize people not moving. So nobody's going away, nobody's coming to the island. Okay, the names are just staying the same. Education on the island is very limited. Children only attend school until the age of 15, with the option of taking the British standardized test for secondary school graduates. Once they have completed schooling, as a consequence of the low quality of education, standardized test scores are generally very poor. So they probably do not so well on the IELTS exam. Another indication of the island's remoteness and relative lack of contact with the outside world is that the English spoken among its natives is very different than that spoken in the rest of the world. So here, what do I visualize in E? I visualize myself as a student. So now I'm a student, and I'm a really bad student. Okay, so I get like a C and a D on my exams, and I use really funny English like this, and I think that 3 and 3 are like 8. Okay, so I'm not too smart. I'm not making fun of Tristanians, but that's what I'm doing to visualize. So I'm visualizing myself as a student with a strange English accent and some really bad test marks. Okay. All right. F. Arguably, one of the most interesting facts about Tristan da Cunha was that until the aftermath of the Second World War, the only currency in place was the potato. Okay, currency, potato. I remember there was some questions about currency, and here money is the potato. So here I have a potato. The potato is money. Okay, so potato money. All right. For example, the newspaper, there's the Tristan Times, could be purchased for 4 big potatoes. Today, Tristan da Cunha uses the British pound as its currency. So it's using the British pound. I visualize that, right? As its currency, which is odd because neighboring St. Helena, 2,173 kilometers away, of which Tristan da Cunha shares its status as a British overseas territory, uses the St. Helena pound. Okay, so the St. Helena pound, it's a little bit different, and not the British pound. Since Tristan da Cunha was formed by volcanic activity and the volcano which formed it is still active, the inhabitants of the island live in constant danger of volcanic eruption. The last such eruption occurred as recently as 1961, when all of the islanders had to be evacuated to England. Visualize people escaping to England from a volcano. While some communities around the world participate in fire, earthquake, or tornado drills, the residents of Tristan da Cunha participate in evacuation drills, where they practice the protocol for evacuation of the island in case of volcanic eruption. All right, so volcanoes, currency, money. G, the Tristan economy is built mainly upon farming. All land is owned by the community. That is to say, there is no individual land ownership. Another significant part of the economy is the exportation of crayfish and lobster, mainly to Japan and the United States. A fire that occurred in 2008 greatly affected both the domestic and export economies. The Tristanians are a fiercely proud and independent people. Even when given the choice to stay in England after the exile due to the volcanic eruption, almost every resident returned to the island. So that's about the reading speed, and you need to be able to visualize with that speed. Okay? So let's now go to the questions and use these visualizations to help us quickly solve and give the correct answers to these questions. So when you visualize, okay, and this is step number 5, I believe. Step 5. After reading with good visualization, you must be able to answer 60% of the questions without looking or searching the passage. You should not take more than 10 minutes to answer. Okay, so let's do that now. All right, so here we go. Which paragraph contains the following information? Write the correct letter in boxes 1 to 5 on your answer sheet. Number 1, the different types of money used on the island. What's the correct answer, students? The different types of money used on the island. Ferdov Zainab says F. Yeah, we just visualized it. There's no way you should be searching for this. Okay? So you shouldn't know right away. We talked about the potato, the British pound, the St. Helena pound. That was clearly F. It was the second to last paragraph. Number 2, exam results of Tristan students or Tristanian students. Number 2, where did we visualize for number 2 the students that are speaking a strange language and wearing glasses? Yeah, there you go. Ferdov, Zainab, very good. So you're keeping that visual logic, Danish, in your mind. Absolutely. E is correct. Okay. Number 3, discussion of the original inhabitants of the island. Original inhabitants of the island means 7 women and 8 men, right? Which paragraph did we talk about that 7 men and 8 women? Amarjeet says, I think that was C, right? Is that where I was wearing my lab coat again and studying the people? Yeah, absolutely, right? So first I was wearing a lab coat, then I was the captain, remember my captain's hat, and then I was wearing the lab coat again. Okay, now Danish and Zainab say maybe D. Okay, but let's say you're like, okay, it's C or D, right? So remember, I just said you need to answer 60% of the questions without looking at the passage. We just answered 2, so if we have to look for this one, for number 3, we can zip back, especially since we know it's either C or D. Okay, so yeah, we'll look at C. According to a recent consensus, the island has a population of just 263 people. So we're looking for that 7 and 8. So 8 were male and 7 were female. The residents descend from just 15 ancestors. So we know it's C. Okay, but Danish, no worries. If you're not sure that it's D or C, just go back, start with the C, and then go to D. At least you know roughly where it is, right? You know roughly where it is. All right, good. Number 4, the island as an armed forces outpost. Okay, number 4, the island as an armed forces outpost. Armed forces outpost means military. So where did you see yourself as a spy, running around, shooting a cannon or a tank? Yeah, that was B, right? So that's an easy one. Okay. It was the second one where we saw ourselves in that captain's hat, right? So that was B. Number 5, geography of the island. Geography means location. So the location of the island. Where does it talk about where is the island? And what's, the logical place for it anyway? Amarjeet says A. Danish says A. Absolutely. Remember that visual picture? We're on the island in the Atlantic. I even corrected the passage. It's not the Pacific. It's the Atlantic. So it's A. Yeah. So F, E, C, B, A. Okay? Very good. Very fast. How long did it take us to answer those questions? Remember, so having confidence by using our visual logic, how long did it take to answer these questions, really? A minute. Yeah, Ferdov says a minute. Maybe 2 if I have to search for one answer. And I have almost half of the answers for this with, if I got this one wrong, no big deal. I'm still on path to a band 7.5. So think about this, members and viewers. When you're using the correct strategy in the reading section, you really shouldn't be taking a long time to answer the questions. You shouldn't be taking 1 minute for each question. I think a lot of students make a big mistake by using bad strategies, and they're spending way too much time searching for answers to one question. Okay, don't do that. Shouldn't take you so long. All right, spend more time. Just a very good rule, a very good tip, and I'm going to actually write this down for you before we get to the next one. A very, very good tip, okay, is spend more time understanding the passage and less time answering questions. Okay, one common mistake that I see with many students is they spend little time to understand the passage and they spend a lot of time trying to figure out questions. That's really an inverse logic. Okay, that's a nonsensical law. It's an irrational logic. It's not rational to do that. All right. Okay, so here we have to match the place with the information. A is St. Helena, B is Tristan da Cunha, C is United Kingdom, D is Portugal. Number 6, took political control of the island in the 19th century. I had some really good visualization there, so I know I can answer that. Which one was it? Who took political control of the island in the 19th century? 19th century means the 1800s, by the way. The 1800s is the 19th century. So, well, yeah, that was United Kingdom. Remember, I was the captain, the Portuguese captain. I was really upset. They took my island. So C is the correct answer. Absolutely. Uses its own money. So uses its own currency today. Uses its own currency. That was I had a clear picture in my mind for that one too. Which of these places uses its own money? St. Helena, Tristan da Cunha, United Kingdom, Portugal. Yeah, St. Helena. Absolutely. A. Portugal uses euro. United Kingdom uses the British pound, right? So, A, St. Helena. St. Helena uses its St. Helena pound. Number 8, home to Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. So, it's home to this city, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. That was an easy one, I think, as well. I kind of saw that clearly in my mind as I was reading, because I was like, oh, okay, most people live there on this island. Yeah, for Dobbs, very good. Yeah, that was Tristan da Cunha. Said most people, for the 226 people, live in this city. Okay. Origin of the name Tristan da Cunha. This should be a very easy one. Origin of the name. So where the name comes from. Very, very clear. I'm not even going to wait for your answer because I'm sure you'll all get this one correct. D, right? The Portuguese captain. Remember my captain's hat with the hair, right? It's my name. So D, absolutely sign up for Dobbs. Number 10, islanders had to be evacuated here after a natural disaster. The natural disaster was the volcano. I saw that, right? It was the volcano. So they went where after the volcanic eruption? That was quite modern times, 1961. It makes sense that they go to the place which claims ownership to the islands, which is C, United Kingdom. Very good. Zainab, Alvina, perfect. Amarjeet, very good. And number 11, discovered the island. So discovered the island. Who discovered the island? That's a little bit redundant with number 9, so that's pretty easy. D, right? I know it seems easy. You know why it seems easy, members? It's because we did the visualization. If you're not visualizing, if you're just searching for the answers, this would be a lot trickier because the answers are all over the place. So this passage is a very good example of an IELTS passage where if you read, understand, and answer, it will be a lot less confusing and a lot faster than if you're skimming and scanning for answers. If you're trying to skim and scan for these answers, it will take you a really long time and you'll be really frustrated. Does that make sense? Can you see how in this passage with these questions, skimming and scanning for answers would be the last strategy that you want to do? Simply, you'd have to read the passage over and over and over to keep finding answers. It would just drive me crazy, even with English as my native language. It would drive me insane to try to search for each of these answers in all of these paragraphs. Okay, so reading it once, understanding it, you're going to be in a much better position to answer for these. Okay. Last two, find the correct ending. Here, simply complete it on your own. Number 12, because the number of people that move permanently to the island is so small, people's names stay the same. Right? That was one interesting. Genetics are similar, right? Last names remain the same for generations. Yeah, that seems right. Okay, so A. Due to its remoteness, the dialect of Tristanians is weird and unique. Different from other English. That would be my answer. Oh, they're very different from other variations of English. C. That looks like a good answer. Okay. So that is the right way to do an IELTS reading passage. Just a quick overview, members. Tip 1, step 1. When you get to the reading section of your IELTS exam, look at all three. Okay, look at all three titles. Choose the one that is most familiar for you. Step number 2, read the title, visualize it, use critical thinking. Step number 3, look at the questions, read ones that are in the passage, have information in the passage, skip ones that have false and extra information. Number 4, read the passage. Understand 70%. Spend about 10 minutes to read the passage. Visualize it. Keep visual logic and order of the information. Include yourself in the visualization. Then step 5, after doing this good visualization, answer 60% of questions without looking at the passage. Okay? You should not take more than 10 minutes to answer questions. Spend more time understanding the passage and less time answering questions. Okay? That is all the time I have for today. Amarjeet, I'd love to answer that question for you, but send me an email. I'm out of time. We will be back. I will be back in 30 minutes with task 2. We will finish task 2 that we started yesterday. I hope that was some valuable information for all of you. And remember to practice that. Remember to practice your visualization. If you have questions, comments, concerns about the exam or our product, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. Make sure to join our premium course with loads of HD video content with strategies like this to get those high band scores. Go to aehelp.com for academic and gieltshelp.com for general. You won't regret it. Spend a little, save a lot. Not just money, but time and energy also. Thank you so much, everyone. Much love to all of you. Hopefully see you in 30 minutes for task 2, completing yesterday's essay. Bye for now.